Rachel, thank you so much for joining us here at SuperReturn International.
Thank you for having me.
What would you categorise in this sort of environment as key pillars to success in a business?
Well, what I think is obvious is that you're always looking for an attractive market that's well-sized with a meaningful amount of opportunity still left, paired with a phenomenal product that has differentiation, competitive moat, and the staying power. We tend to find those dynamics with mission-critical products in attractive recession-proof sectors. So I think first and foremost, you have to be very thoughtful about how you're selecting the landscape of where you're going to invest. I think from there, really being thoughtful about the diligence and the underwriting to ensure that we're really thinking about all the potential dynamics in an uncertain time, such as the one we're in today.
The industry needs to work a little harder in this environment.
And I think scenario planning is actually an important part of all of our jobs as investors. No one knows what the future will hold. So being able to think about all the potential outcomes and then plan for them, which may seem obvious, but actually I found for a lot of investors that was something they got out of the habit of doing over the past decade. And then finally, value creation is one of our biggest levers for success at Vista Equity Partners. Not only have we really built up a toolkit, best practices, and a team that can help our companies really weather any storm, but also we can really think about the mechanics of a business and get really involved with how to really create something that's going to be valuable beyond all of our involvement.
If somebody was to come to you and say, what would you describe as the key fundamentals for value creation, what would you say they were?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost in enterprise software, you're looking at the recurring nature of the revenue. So what is the predictability of that revenue? And so around that kind of one theme, you might think about everything from customer contracting to price increases to how you think about forecasting, because you really want to understand that lifeblood of the organization. The second is really thinking about the go-forward opportunity and being able to size appropriately the go-to-market investment to the demand signals that may be taking place in the industry. So we spend a lot of time thinking about what's the right size and scale of a sales and marketing team and investment, and how does that correlate to the future year growth targets. And then finally, one of the other areas where we spend a significant amount of time is on value-based pricing. In enterprise software, what we're able to achieve typically is a 20% capture on the annual ROI that a customer is actually extracting from a value perspective. So if an end customer is, let's say, creating $1,000 worth of efficiency or upside, we should be able to charge, in that case, $200 to $300 per year for the software. It's a very simplistic, illustrative example, but what's powerful is that when a lot of these companies start, they start with very basic pricing and packaging. And as they grow, it's a very important part of becoming a more sophisticated organization, is thinking through your pricing and packaging methodology and pricing to value.
And what you add is the expertise for a lot of these portfolio companies.
Correct.
Describe that for me.
We've built a best practices suite of over 100 best practices. We have 105 individuals that are in our captive in-house consulting organization, and they tend to be not generalists, former consultants, but actually more specialists. So we have folks who may be experts in everything from sales training programs to generative AI to cybersecurity, or things like how to build a product roadmap. And so those functional experts are really set up to partner with our functional teams inside of every portfolio company and support them as they're looking to elevate the operations of a company. I think value creation is something many firms talk about. It's something we live and breathe daily, and we have since our founding. And so that's been a very big differentiator for us.
Absolutely. And do you think that's a reason that founders perhaps look to you?
Yes.
What do they look for in partnerships, and is that a key for you?
Yeah, it's such a great question. I think what's interesting is founders are very attuned now to expecting more than just capital when they're selecting a partner for the future. And so when I think about what really stands out, I think they're looking for a really strong trust-based relationship, because this is a business typically they've spent 10 to 15 years building, and tends to be the largest portion of their net worth tied up in one asset. And so thinking about who they trust to take the business kind of to the next level is an important element. And then the value creation really sets us apart. Being able to talk to them about their hopes, their dreams, and what they'd love to achieve with their business, and then being able to back that up with very specific solutions, tools, and tactics is just a game changer.
You mentioned generative AI a moment ago. It would be remiss not to speak about it, because it's on the forefront of every agenda here this week. Tell me about that and how you think that's going to impact I suppose the industry generally, but your business as well.
Yeah, I think what we expect is that generative AI will impact the types of solutions our companies offer, the way we think about the business model long term, and even how we invest and investment processes internally. I will tell you it's early. So while we've been working on generative AI for over 8 years as a firm, and we built an entire ecosystem for our portfolio companies to leverage around generative AI, the application is still in its infancy. And so what I'm excited to see is how do we get more innovation into the product development process? How do we get more efficiency into the internal operations? And how do we start to calculate the real value of that? And it's early, but we're very excited about the prospects.
Now, that's one thing that might transform the industry. The other thing is all the geopolitical and macro issues that you look at. And obviously this year we've had half the globe's population voting in democratic elections, and we've got US and UK elections coming up. What sort of impact do those factors have, and how do you build resilience when you're looking at a landscape like that?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question. I wish I had a crystal ball, and thankfully I'm not a political analyst, so I really can't tell you what to expect. It has been a very interesting couple of cycles from a political economic standpoint. I think what we look for are companies that can weather any storm, because the reality is it's impossible to forecast what's going to happen in any number of different theaters. And what we're excited about are companies that have staying power and resiliency, because again, we wouldn't have expected the last 4 years to play out the way they have, and the next 4 will be even more compelling.
So with all of that in mind, how much do you value coming to an event like this where you have so many of your colleagues in one place at one time that you can perhaps share ideas with and build some of those resilience ideas?
Yeah, SuperReturn's a very special event for us as a firm. It's one that we've been coming to for a number of years. And not only do we get to see a number of our peers from a GP perspective all in one place, we also get a chance to work with many of our clients and LPs from all over the globe. And I think it's a very unique event. It's one of the largest events that we go to on an annual basis anywhere in the world. And I think you just get a very, very distinct quality audience, and everyone's very engaged. And candidly, this week they seem to be even more excited to be here, even more so than last year.
Well, we're excited to have you here, Rachel. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Great to see you.
Have a great day.